Let's talk about some other applications of statistics in the real world. One of the places that we see statistics used a lot is in sports. It can be used for betting. Obviously, if people are betting money on something, they want the best odds of winning. Um, and it can be used as a coaching tool to make better decisions before a game and even during a game. So one of the things that's become very popular in um, every sport, but for example, we'll take basketball, is looking at every player and their probability of making a shot from different places on the field, on the court. So that can all be mapped out. So what we have here is a visualization made by Duke. So this is showing a game in the 2014-15 season, Duke versus North Carolina, their rival. And if we come down here, this little graph here is showing the probability that the teams make the shot in different areas. So you can see that the dark blue, which is Duke, is much more likely to shoot from the right-hand side, and actually to make a shot from this side. They're 50-50 on this side, but if they're on this side, their chances are better. On North Carolina, it's kind of the opposite. Um, that you can see that their distant shots are not very strong, but the filled in dots here in that area called the paint, so really close to the basket, are much higher, a really high density of those. So as the coach during the game, if you have a player that has a really high percentage of shooting from the three-point line and making it, then you want to use that. At the same time, if you have someone who always misses when they take three-point shots and they're consistently taking three-point shots and missing, then you could pull them from the game. So this is used in real time by coaches during the game to actually change who's playing. Here we see a network graph. This is the same kind of idea of what you see with Facebook that says, oh, if you're friends with Susie, then you might also be friends with Jill. But this is showing how the team passes to each other. You can see a lot of, it's pretty consistent here. Everyone seems to be getting the ball. You can see who throws it to whom. Looks like Jefferson never threw it to Jones, M. Jones. So this is a way of kind of visualizing that. Why is this important? Well, if you're trying to guard against Duke, you might notice that Cook here is the person that seems to be a hub and getting a lot of things. So you might want to put two people to guard Cook. Same thing over here for North Carolina. You might notice that this person doesn't even have their name show up. They're probably not a very strong player, so you don't need to. So that's James. Uh, Maybe not the person you need to focus on. You might want to focus on some of these other players. And just finally, these are showing the points throughout the game by minutes, right? And then there's this inflection point right here where North Carolina actually um, has more points than Duke. And then Duke tries to make a comeback. They're tied here and then goes all the way to the end of the game. And Duke wins by 2 points. So but you can change the games here and see that the um, spread for different against different teams. So Wake Forest, for example, another rival, Wake Forest, um, is performing below Duke. Duke ends up winning this game. You can see again the distribution of who passes to whom. And so you can use this information to then try and make the best game plan. So this is used in basketball, an example of basketball, right? Another example is in baseball. So let's look at, this is a heat map of Justin Verlander, so the pitcher for the Astros, of the pitches he threw. And you can see that there's a strong concentration in the middle, but you can actually switch it. And so if you want to look at just the two-seamers, fastballs, where would those likely be thrown? You can see actually he used to throw a lot and he's throwing fewer. Now that was actually a pretty big trend in baseball. He used to throw a lot of two seams and then they switched to more like a four seam. See if we have any four seam show up. Yep, you can see threw a lot of four seam balls here. So each pitch is being tracked here. And you can also look at these by result. So let's see if we just want to look at the pitches that resulted in strikes. All right, um, those are kind of right down the middle, and you can see the pretty consistent over time. So why would this be important? Well, if we're a team that's going to play against um, the Astros, so we know that Verlander is going to be pitching, we might think about where is he likely to put the ball, and then we should tell our batters to look for that. These are where we get strikes. The one places that we might get hits actually could be ones that look more like this. And if we see pitches that look like that, see the little donut shape, those are going to be balls, so outside of the strike zone. Um, all of this information can be used then to try and make better predictions on what we're going to do. So we're not going into every game blind, not knowing um, what's going to happen. We actually have information based on history of what Verlander's done and the result of those games, or each pitch, to try and use that to then for our advantage. And that's um, like a really clear example with sports because you have a game, you have a clear winner, you have a very obvious outcome. You can make a score, you make a basket, you make a run. Um, in business, it can be more challenging to see those connections, but this same type of analysis is done all of the time. Every time you go to a website to see, like, did you click on this icon or not? And if you clicked on this, did you make a purchase? So all of that can be tracked, and then over time, the website can change, make different choices that says if we put buy now in big letters in green, then that leads to more conversions. And, and we know it leads to more conversions than leaving it in blue because we did a test and we can see the difference. So if we have more conversions, then the sales increase. And we can look at this statistically and say our business objective is to sell more t-shirts. Um, the way that we're going to understand how to do that is we can actually use statistics to test different ideas and see which ideas are more likely to lead to selling more t-shirts. And those things can be visualized using tools like this one. This one's called Tableau, um, and give you the best idea of like how well your website is using to convert. Additionally, it could be used to say what's the probability um, that something outside is going to happen. So the famous one here in Houston is the guy that offers the furniture. So if you buy more than $5,000 worth of furniture and the Astros win the World Series, then your furniture is free. So he has figured out the risk to him of doing that versus the sales he will get, and decided that it's worth it. That the probability of the Astros winning is some percentage, and if the Astros do win, then he will pay for all these people's furniture. But um, in any case, he thinks that he's going to get more sales because of this sales gimmick that he's come up with. So these are just a couple of examples of using this in sports here. This is another example of the basketball. You can see in this heat map the probability of making shots is a lot higher when you're in the paint, um, and that changes over time. So like 60% of shots of people standing right underneath the basket make it, um, and that like this kind of tan zone. Actually, this one's worse. You're more likely to miss here. Um, so different ways of using statistics to think about the best place either to stand to take a shot um, or to position yourself to block an opponent.